Hey, everybody listening to the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm Chip. Monk with me, as always, is the Mr. Gimpy.
What's up, Chip? How's it going, brother?
It's good, man. Looking sipped up from the drip up,
I'm
dude.
trying to, man. Trying to. Got the Combo Wombo mug, the exclusive.
Filled with Cavassier, dude. Having a little morning snackaroo, dude.
So we call the coffee in here Cavassier.
Yeah, dude. You want a little more coffee with that Cavassier, my guy?
Right. For sure. Nah, man. I'm just sipping. Still a little early. Like I said, I was up. I was just watching Aliens. Then you messaged me, and I was like, "Yeah, I gotta grind beans and shit." And it took way longer because I'm trying not to wake the kids up. So I moved like the coffee bean grinder to the basement, shut the door, ground the coffee, went up, brewed it. It's a whole fucking mission, dude. I was like, I should have just.
It's a stealth mission, dude, just to get a little coffee in you.
Yeah. So I was like, I gotta because I bought new coffee and it was only available in bean form.
Ooh, you got fancy coffee, my guy.
Yeah. I haven't tried it enough to give a full recommendation yet, but so far it's pretty decent,
All right, I've been doing like just straight cold brew stuff from the fridge, like
just like a pour thing. Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Gotcha.
I've been doing like little K-pods, but like even that, like people have been switching up to like the little filtered kind with like a metal, like stainless steel, reusable. Yep. I haven't gone that far, and like they already ran out of those little filters at my work, so people have been using them.
That's awesome.
Not me, but people. I mean, I used it twice because I was like, oh, let me try this. The stainless still gets hot AF, dude. Like when you like go to like pull it out, but it cools down just as fast.
Right. If you just make sure you just open the top of that bad boy, get it done. Oh man, so we missed a week. Just just life. Life happens.
I feel like nobody would notice if you didn't say anything,
dude. I don't leave things there, dude, to lie. Just acknowledge it, dude.
About the podcast, dude.
Yeah, last week. It's all right. That's pretty funny.
I forgot it was Sunday, dude. I had took Friday off of work and the whole weekend bled together. I had Monday off too.
Oh yeah, Monday. Oh yeah. That's right.
Oh yeah, it was glorious.
Yeah.
I was just living life, dude. I wasn't looking at time or clocks or nothing, dude.
It's the way to do it, man. It's the way to do it. So while we're on a hiatus, I've completed Elden Ring finally. 2 years in the making. I jumped back into the game because the DLC's out. But here's the thing: I was like, I gotta at least beat the game. So what I did was
to do it, dude. So no notch on your belt.
Exactly. So thankfully, we've spoke on this pod a while back about, taking how to enjoy things more, and also from creativity to just like take notes of where you left off to, come back, and so you're not completely just starting from scratch again, right? We talked about that in our game dev lives, because we're like, if you don't take good notes, if you pause a project for a few weeks, you come back and you don't know what the hell you were doing.
Could be anything.
Before we even talked about that on the pod, I actually did that with Elden Ring. So when I stopped playing, I wrote down on like a document of what I was doing, where I was, what I was trying to accomplish, and where I had to go. So when I jumped back into the game, I was level 80 or so, and I was on the Altus Plateau. And so then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? So I'm just kind of running around, and I found a mini boss in a legacy dungeon, and I was like, I thought I was writing down some shit. Found an old Excel document that I had with like the bosses I beat. Because I was like, oh yeah, there's hundreds of bosses in this game. Let's see how many I beat on my playthrough. So I was doing that, and I wrote a little note of who I'm going after now and where they are. So using that as a starting point, I went through, played through the game. I played at what started this was not only the DLC, but I realized my backlog it's always been ridiculous, but right now, like people said
you can always keep adding to it.
I did that there's a website that was linked back in I want to say June or something on one of the popular PC gamer sites. Maybe it was PC Gamer. It's like, oh, see how long it'll take for you to get to your backlog, and mine literally said 20 years.
That's not bad, dude.
So I'm like, fuck, so I decided to just go through, and instead of buying new games, to just play some of the hitters that I've had, and
got games at home.
Yeah, and really just enjoy them. So anyway, that being said,
man in Elden Ring, dude, just with the spreadsheet of names going through, crossing them off, dude.
Exactly. So going through that, beat Elden Ring. I'm gonna
Santa Claus of delivering pain.
I'm gonna take a couple of weeks break from it because I've been grinding it and I'm kind of burnt out on the game, honestly.
Dang, all right, yeah.
And then I'm gonna play through the DLC after like a week or two. But
I will say that is something that happens when you play games just to complete them and get them off the backlog. Is like, it gets like a little more like stressful in a weird way, like a little more arduous. Where you're like, I gotta finish playing this damn thing. So keep on booting it up and playing it and slugging through, even like if you're not having that much fun.
What's interesting is, and I've said this before, just in how I enjoy games. So people are like, well, where do you rank Elden Ring? And people who haven't played the other FromSoft games rank it as like the best game they've ever made, right? PC games journalists rank it as the best game they've ever made. I don't.
Every game's Elden Ring, dude.
I think Elden Ring is probably ranks 3 for me, maybe even 4.
After the mech one?
No. For me, Sekiro number 1, Bloodborne number 2, and it's kind of a toss-up between Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1 for me.
All right.
And honestly, like, if I play through Dark Souls 3, who knows, that might be above it. I think Elden Ring was good, but my problem is with the game, and this is not to say it's bad, it's with giant open worlds, it's too long for where I stop like wanting to explore new areas, and that's like completely different from a lot of people's experience. They're like, oh, I wish this game will never end. I keep experiencing new areas and exploring it. Yeah. Every time I got to a new area, I was just like, fuck, it's not over yet.
That's fair, man.
Also, the bosses start repeating after a while. So there was so the fun of figuring out the boss was gone, because I'm like, I fought this boss like 3 times before. So that was some of it.
Yes, more health.
Yeah, exactly.
Deal with it. Even though you become stronger, somehow you become weaker.
But that's a me problem and not the game problem, and that's just my own problem with like open worlds too. Sometimes it gets too big.
Yeah.
For me,
it was weird. Like all the fun games start going that open world trend, and they can be fun. Like again, like sometimes people like to get lost in that experience or that world, or whatever. I know, like Assassin's Creed, people love those style games, and like other people are like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But same with like Elden Ring. It's weird that they went like an open world. I know a lot of people have said that they loved it more when it was like that, the castles and like exploring, and more of like a not necessarily like a single path, but like a branching Metroidvania style castle exploration,
more like the original Dark Souls. Yeah.
So, people have said that many a times. Like they much prefer that over like the Elden Ring open explore world. They're like, this is bullshit. I just want like a concise levels that are built for exploration. So
which I mean, the DLC is that, so I'll probably enjoy the fuck out of the DLC. So we'll see. But overall the story was great. Fighting Melania was super fun. When I beat her, I did have that feel of accomplishment, and I played the game through completely solo. So it was me on my own.
It's rocking solo.
My thing was, I'm gonna take this as a challenge. Anything that's hard, I'm just gonna fucking put my head down and go through it, and I did, and enjoyed myself. The people who have like New Game Plus 3 and shit like that, I don't know how you guys do it. I just can't. After my total playthrough was 130 hours.
Randy Orton has 500 hours.
No, 600. I saw that.
No, 600. Whatever. It always goes up every time he tells the story, I'm sure, dude.
It's ridiculous. But, that's big said. We always talk about, keep enjoying what you're enjoying, and people clearly enjoy that game, so they have hundreds of hours.
Why not?
I don't think I have hundreds of hours on any game outside of like if it's
you have so many to play, dude. It's like, man, even if it's like that's like kind of the other consequence of like a backlog when you start treating it as something you got to complete. Is like, even if you're like really enjoying the game, you're just like, I just got to get to the end of this because I got to get to the next thing. I have so much stuff, like I can't just sit here and just make this my game or whatever. Like I don't know, it's weird. I feel like for me, like those type of my games have become like online games. Like for me, like
sure.
I've still just been playing like Hearthstone, and like I don't even think I enjoy it. I just like to have it on in the background as I'm watching. Like, yeah, I become like those kids, you know, where they have like Subway Surfers going while they're like watching something. Like that's me in Hearthstone, where I'm just like have it going while I'm like doing something else. I'll watch like anime or something.
Sure.
Just rock some Hearthstone.
Makes sense. So, what have you been up to, man? Since I've been kind of going through my backlog, you been just chilling or what?
Yeah, I've been doing some just some chilling, some writing. I'm through some shit up on the web now. Like I finally become everything that I hate, dude. So
happened, dude.
I don't know, you see me talk about web novels and shit here all the time, light novels.
Yep.
Turns out anyone can write them. So that's the thing, dude. And like I've read so many like really bad ones, and like even if you look at like a top 10 list, if you go and read them, like they're not that great. But like also you gotta take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of these authors, English isn't their first language, and a lot of them are like translated over from like, you know, Chinese or Korean or like you know, French.
Sure.
So you gotta be like, oh, is this the author's fault, or like is it something missed in translation? They're usually just like fun escapist like power fantasies, and like I don't know, I've listened to like audio books of them at work, and hundreds of them. I probably listen to like all the best ones and stuff, and I'm just like, I could probably do better. And like I've always been like writing a little bit like in my spare time for fun, and I was like, you know what, I've been talking mad shit. Let me try to throw something up on one of these sites and like see how it goes, and maybe I can get some writing feedback and improve in the craft, because I usually just write for like fun, for the love of the game, for enjoyment. And
pregnant pause there.
Simmer, dude, let them cook. So I start throwing it up, and people love it. They're like, "This is amazing! This is the best thing ever." We get off great reviews. They're like, people's biggest complaints, they want more. I will say I didn't underestimate just like how tough it would be, because like it's such an international audience. So like I've been like trying to like lower like the prose, so they're not like as luxurious, you know. They're more rich now. So like like simplifying like a lot of my words and stuff to reach a broader audience. And then I also found like when you write like any kind of like fantasy world or stuff, for me I like to have like a little bit of background and setting, and so I have like 4 or 5 different pages of just like background stuff on characters and setting and how like the magic system works and all this shit. And then you kind of take that for granted as well, like while you're writing. So like people will bring up like questions, and I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't explain that, because like for me, like, you know, I have like all this other back information that I'm not necessarily given. So
so with this story you're writing now, are you going to pivot that into a game as well, maybe in the same world, or have you thought about that?
No, man, I haven't at all. Like,
but now that I mention it,
I don't even know how to do it. I guess it'd just be like a generic fantasy game, like with magic powers. If I did something like that, it'd be like even like a puzzle quest, right, where you're in that world and some of the abilities that you described, just translate that to puzzle. Maybe have abilities like a Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. You know what I mean? That just off the top of my head. Just a thought. It could be anything.
Right.
I haven't been thinking about that much. I've just been like taking a break from game creation. Like I was like working really hard, and then I got like that crazy fever, and then it was just like harder to focus on things after that, dude. Like I don't know, it was weird. So I've been using this as kind of like a palate cleanser, as a reset, and like I almost feel weirdly bad, because I'm like, sometimes like I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to. I'm enjoying like the process of writing, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get to like the finish line with this thing, dude. You know, like for me, it's like just like volume 1, which would be about like 20, 30 chapters, and I'm like over halfway there right now. You know, I'm in like chapter 18, which is a couple hundred like small pages. Like,
have you already written out the ending? Like, or do you know where the ending is going?
I know where like this end of this arc is going.
Just keep that in mind, dude. If you start getting burnt out, condense it and get to that point.
And I'm closing in on it, so I'm like, and then like you know, like I don't know, I wasn't anticipating like how many people would actually enjoy it, you know, so it's like
that's a good problem to have, man.
I'm just like, shit, I feel like maybe I'm letting a few people down, but you know what, fuck them. Never trust the light novel author, dude. Exactly. That's rule 1 of the game, baby. There's so many like great series that just end after like 10, 12 chapters, and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Or they'll like lead you on even further. They'll go like 20, 30 chapters deep, and then all this like they haven't written anything in 5 years, and you're like, fuck. I know like a lot of Korean authors too, like they end up going to like mandatory military service, or like a lot of American authors they end up like having to go to college or get a job. Like
right.
life happens.
Life finds a way.
So they just like never really get back to that thing, and
Definitely. Yeah, man. So for me, as far as like the game dev and creative front, I've been working a lot on background systems. So I've been in my day job, I'm currently doing like a field library and just making things to pull for later. So basically working on like a giant ass array. So I'm like, okay, can I use this into the game dev stuff? And so I'm just doing exercises with that. As I said, I'm making a kind of match game, puzzle game ish, that's recreating the first game we ever made. And so I'm like, what's the like cleanest way I can do this? So I'm pulling from an array and for like the normal blocks, and with that I'm using a second array to handle power-ups. And the first game did not feature power-ups, so I'm deciding on how to implement that. I'm still using GameMaker for it. During this development process, Humble Bundle had courses on Godot and other things. So
shout out to Godot.
Shout out to Godot. And we were speaking.
Have you tried it, man? Do you like Godot?
I'm actually going to try it.
All right,
and I thought, since I'm doing this project, and this was the first project I ever made, so it's been completed once before, so I know like the steps to actually complete this. I'm like, okay, so put my money where my mouth is, right? Can I complete the game in both engines?
Sure.
Because we spoke before how I wasn't a fan of nodes, and how linking nodes I thought was clunky, but this was just from outside looking in and just kind of like clicking around and not actually knowing what I was doing. But with this course from the
courses
Bundle,
and stuff,
I figured that's a structured way to learn.
Deeper understanding of things where you're like, oh, maybe I won't be fumbling around.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to try both, and I'll update everyone here. So that's my thought.
It seems like it can be more like an elegant solution to things. It's like more maybe how you're used to working in GameMaker, like where you like dig down in like those structured nodes and like the thing does the one thing.
Well, keep in mind, I came from Construct 2. It was my very first one. So
that's also kind of like in a similar thing where like I'm just programming for this object in this thing.
Yeah, it's object oriented for sure.
And like not in like the programming sense, but in like I'm writing a program that's going to move this sprite and only this sprite.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I'll update everyone here, but that's kind of where I am. As I said, I'm not trying to like push this out real fast, because I'm taking exactly what I've learned and what we've talked about in this pod, and I'm combining it into my first thing. So what was that? Back in June, I said I'm working on multiplayer and like linking things to LAN, and got that working. I said I was working on what did I say? Oh yeah, my creative process and like linking things and writing things down. Did that. So now taking all of that, condensing it into my first project to remake it, and that's the thought.
Leveling up, dude.
I'm gonna do it on PC and mobile is the thought, because I have.
All right, you got like launch platforms. You got to throw it on like the Play Store or like on some sort of websites on Newgrounds. You gonna throw it on Newgrounds?
No, I still have my Android account, the developer account,
Dev Cup,
and I still have the iOS developer account that hasn't been used in 8 years.
Your Nintendo one?
I do.
Yeah, bro.
I don't plan on releasing it on Switch though.
But you could,
just how the game works. But I could,
out there.
But if nothing, it would be on itch.
Okay.
We'll see where it is. But that's just the overall plan. As we said in our 2024 roadmap or resolutions, I wanted to participate in a game jam. I wanted to complete a game, and I wanted to take a game that I made and release it publicly for everyone who listens or there to experience it. So I'm trying to keep with that. I actually wrote down our resolution stuff, dude. So
did I do any?
You've knocked out everything.
Oh shit!
Except the
resolutions that get revenge.
Except the GameJam thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, I looked at a few, and there weren't. There's so many game jams now, and it's hard to find ones that have like an actual active community because like any Tom, Dick, or Harry can just throw up like I'm doing a game jam, and there'll be like 5 participants. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't know. I thought about like a couple months back where I was like, oh, maybe I could do something with you or the professor or find somebody online.
That's actually on our resolution list of working together on one. So
yeah,
and I figure if I level up my thing because you use Unity mostly.
I know a little Unreal. I have it on my computer.
Yeah, and I figured.
I open it up every few months and I look at it and I'm like, yeah, still Godot, and then I close it out, dude.
Right. And I know a professor loved GDevelop, right? So I'm like, okay.
Someone trying to get into Rust, Bevy.
Yeah, that's way over my head, dude. I'm not.
I can't help you have like a graphical user interface, dude. It's like all through command line and shit. They're like, you write your own tools. This is why it's great. I'm like, this sounds like insanity. What the fuck?
Yeah, if you can do it, more power to you. But fuck that.
I don't know. There's like a few of them that are like getting to a more user-friendly
but my
situation.
one thing I would love for like either you or I or us three to get together and just knock something out in like a day or a weekend or something, where we just chill, because we've done it before. We were obviously much younger men then, but we've done it before. So I'm like, okay, we could probably do it again. It'll be fun.
See.
Yeah, so that's the roadmap for the combo wombo for the next couple. So
like even we'll see. Game Jam stuff. I've been making like my own little prototypes, where I've shown you like some of them with like like here's like 7 or 8 different, well, not that crazy, like 3 or 4 different games that have like started like sketching out or whatever and made them over the course of like a weekend or a week or two, and this has been fun. I don't know, that's the secret of the Game Jam, man. You can make your own game anytime with any constraints you want. So
true. Yeah, man. Just to
like get like a random theme and a random timeline and stuff, and like there's something about like getting like a group of people together and be like, all right, we're all in this together. Let's go. If like it's through like a Discord call or like we're all together.
What my favorite part of the Game Jam process is? I have 2 favorite parts.
Musty.
The brainstorming phase I find super fun because it's great to have everyone's ideas, just to see where everyone's coming from. And I love, but I also hate the final push. Because the last one I participated in, was Sir Solace and I, and we were up all night. We had time zone differences, 3 hours, and like this man, like you could hear the other person fall asleep on the other side, and I just powered through, left a message, uploaded. Like famously, I said, and maybe I haven't gone through the story on the pod, and maybe I will, but on that Game Jam, I think I told you. He fell asleep, and we were gonna have like a 2-player mode where it was versus, and we completely forgot to code the controls for 2nd player. So that was like my final push, and his push was he did AI, and we've never done AI before. He made an AI person, so we both
difficult, man.
Just jumped in and did what was needed for the project.
Jeez.
And like I said, that project also killed the joy for game dev for Sir Solace, but that's all right.
For everybody, Game Jams can fucking break you, dude. Like,
they can.
You'll do like all this hard ass work, and then you'll throw it up, and nobody will even play it or see it. It's like screaming into a void, but like I don't know, that's game dev in a nutshell.
That's mostly what it is, right? If you can't handle that, which no. Not everybody can, and that's okay.
Like even for my writing, dude, like I've been looking, because I'm like, not to be like egotistical or anything, but like for my own just morbid curiosity, I was like, am I growing at like a normal rate? Like, and so I was like looking on Reddit and stuff. I'm like, what's like a normal amount of like followers and like views to get like when you throw something up online? And I know people do this for YouTube as well, where you're like, I made a new channel, like how come like it's not growing or whatever. So they like kind of want to see like a natural growth curve or whatever. And and like I saw like a lot of people, and like not to be like too disparaging, but like maybe this is true for like a lot of artistic endeavors, where a lot of people were like complaining they weren't like getting like people like seeing it or recognition or followers. And then like I look at like how much they'd written, and I was like, have you tried writing more? Like, because like, you know, no offense, but it's like you have like, you know, 20 chapters out over the course of like 2 years, so you're like releasing a chapter like every 3 or 4 weeks. It's like if you just like release more chapters more often, more people have like a better chance of seeing it. And like same thing for like you know, anything else you're doing. Like if you're making YouTube videos, you're like, oh, I'm putting out like one video every like 3 weeks, and like nobody watched it, and I quit. You know, it's like, man, and like you can get burnt out like doing that as well, where you're like, I'm gonna do like a video every single day, or like blah blah blah. It's like you know, I wouldn't say like go that hard on like a schedule, especially if it's something you're trying to do as like a hobby or to learn from. But like more frequency, and then like a schedule, at least like have some sort of schedule, or like you know, some sort of like a productivity timeline of like you're like working towards a thing like every week that you're trying to accomplish. But yeah, man, it's tough, man, because like you'll put out a lot of stuff and like nobody will see it. Like I've said, you know, on this podcast, where it's like statistically, like the first few games, like nobody's gonna play them, nobody's gonna buy them. Like it's usually like on average by like the 10th or 12th game, like that's when you like start to break even or make money in this endeavor. And like I said, man, like if you're just making a game every 6 months, like that's like 5 years of your life just, you know, evaporated like into the void, and it's just heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, I don't view it as evaporate. I think it's, you know,
it's all learning.
It's all learning, and I do things for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it's like you gotta do that, man. If you want to like continue on, especially as like a hobby and stuff, and like I definitely feel like we have like in America at least, like we have like an extremely like toxic productivity mindset of like how you got hustle, you gotta be making money off of everything. It's like can't just do shit for the love of the game.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, like even from like my writing, I was comparing it to like people are like, oh, what's your plans with the, you're gonna try and like publish, you're gonna try and like find I was like, that's insanely difficult to do. But first of all, and then second, like just because I go to the rec center to like shoot some basketball, I'm not trying to like get picked up in a rec league or get to the NBA, you know, like can't I just go to the rec and just shoot some fucking b-ball for fun? Like why do I gotta be like, oh, you better start doing drills, you better start practicing, you gotta meet with some coach, and you know, whip back into shape. I'm like, no, like this is insanity, dude. But like, it's definitely more of like and like people also want the best for you too. Like they want you to be like really successful, especially if they love and care about you. It's not like necessarily coming from a place of malice where somebody's like, oh, if you consider this, if you like start doing this, you know, like,
it's from a place of what we've been conditioned to think, you know. Like
that is what like society
has been very prevalent.
And I also feel like people want like a windfall as well for everybody, you know. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be great if like a pot of gold just fucking dropped in your lap from like your minimum effort, and you're like, that would be fucking amazing. And then like when it doesn't happen, you're like, your expectations were like, I was getting to this pot of gold at this end of the rainbow, and instead all I stepped on was jack shit. It was a swamp of bullshit. It was a soupy swamp of like despair, and I poured all this heart and energy into it, like to create this rainbow bridge. Then I got to the end, and it was just like shining turd nuggets, dude, off the glistening sun, dude. It was absolutely a horrific journey. Like not looking back, like you can't even enjoy like the rainbow bridge journey along the way now, because like you're looking at the end mired up to your knees.
All right. On that note,
that's the creative process, dude.
And that's where we'll end the pod. I do next week. I will. It's kind of like, it's close to back to school time, right? Last year we did a kind of, you know, the summer woes have kind of gotten to us, and you know, but we're looking on the horizon for games coming out, you know, soon. So
there's like some VR stuff you're watching,
so next week we'll go over you know, anticipated releases, and I believe just if we're going to do anything else. But last year we did that, so it's about that time.
Announced yet from
Not yet.
Nintendo?
Not yet, but there's supposed to be a showcase this Wednesday.
Yeah, and you told me Steam's been ramping up their development. Maybe we'll talk about that next week, dude. It's more interesting.
Yeah.
So like how they just give up on their hippie commune bullshit.
Yeah. We'll go through that for sure. But until then, dude, until next time, Combo Wombo Podcast, I'm Mr. Gimpy.
Chipmunk.
Like, share, subscribe. We out. Yeah, bitch.
Peace.